The third pair of authentiboots I made in my youth were these. I had in my mind late Roman cavalry boots or something, but nothing very precise. Just medieval boots of a generic sort. And I didn't want another pair of caligae, another pair of hobnailed boots. I wanted to play a character who was a little bit more stealthy, and so I wanted just smooth, flat soles. But because I knew I was going to be using these more for LARP than for reenactment, and that I would end up inevitably running around on tarmacked surfaces quite a lot, I didn't want them wrecked, because you spend quite a long time making a pair of these and you love them. So I attached modern plastic soles to the bottom, but very thin, so that when you're standing on the ground, no one's going to notice. They still look authentic, but they just protected them from the abrasive ravages of the tarmac. Running around in these feels different. We today are all used to having thicker, more padded soles. We're also used to having heels. Boots didn't have heels until the late Tudor period, and plenty even didn't long after that. The heel strike you feel when running around in these is quite significant. So actually, when I'm running at full tilt in these, my running action is pretty much the same as normal, because so much of your weight is committed forwards that you're actually not pounding on the ground that much. But when you're running not at full tilt, at a medium pace, I would run on the balls of my feet pretty much all the time, because that saved my my heels from the kadunk, 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 which would otherwise be inevitable and quite painful. You move and stand differently in these. Now, there's quite a famous Lindy hopper called Sarah Breck, who wrote a rather controversial entry in her blogs a few years ago about how women should Lindy hop wearing high heels. Now, a lot of people thought that that's just strange. It's just wrong. You don't Lindy hop in high heels. Lindy hop is a down to the earth dance with lots of kicks and jumps and fast movements across the floor and sudden turns and so forth. Wearing high heels is not a good idea, and most people dance in flat soles. But she was saying, maybe not everyone should dance in high heels all the time, but it's a good idea to try, ladies, dancing in high heels, because it tests your technique. And it was an interesting point. She was saying that if you think you've really nailed your posture and you're really well balanced and so forth, and you can do this move really well, if you try it in high heels and actually you're not that great at it, the high heels will tell you the failings of your technique. So if you're slightly off balance, then whoa, you'll really notice it in high heels. If in fact you're not up on the balls of your feet and your weight isn't quite forward enough to be on the balls of your feet, and in fact when you came out of that turn you actually rocked onto your heels a little bit, then in stilettos you'll notice it. Well, in the world of HEMA, I noticed that people generally wear modern shoes with ramped up heels. Even if they've got a flat sole, the heel is higher than the front, and they've got cushioning and they've got modern grippy rubber. So if I'm here with my sword and I step out like that with my foot ahead of me rather than step and plant my weight on my foot, I get away with it. I can put my foot out there. It's not going to go anywhere. I'm wearing modern, grippy trainers. I'll be fine. But if I were wearing authentiboots and used really bad footwork, I'd be slipping and sliding all over the place, and it would slow me down, and it would take force out of my blows, and my bad footwork technique would show up if I were wearing authentiboots. So there's maybe a reason to do that. Now, admittedly, I don't speak from experience here in the HEMA context, because I haven't actually done any HEMA wearing completely authentiboots. However, I've done plenty of reenactment and other sort of stuff in authentiboots on all sorts of surfaces, wearing armour, not wearing armour, different weathers, and I can say it makes quite a big difference. It's a skill, actually, running around in armour in all old-fashioned authentiboots with flat, thin soles, which give you very little grip, very little cushioning. It's a different skill, and it demands that you're more careful with your feet. It's another thing to think about. And so there, I put it out there. Possibly in HEMA we should be wearing authentiboots a bit more. When the Living in the Past experiment by the BBC was carried out, one of the questions they asked people was, if you could have one modern invention, what would it be? Did they ask for fridges, digital watches? No. They pretty much all asked for Wellington boots. They wanted modern, grippy, waterproof soles. And having spent quite a lot of my time in boots like this, I sort of sympathise, because you do end up wandering around with wet, uncomfortable feet an awful lot of the time. Modern shoe soles are great. We don't appreciate just how flipping great they are. They are really grippy, they're waterproof, and they're hard wearing on all sorts of surfaces, which old-fashioned stuff is not. Now, if it's leather, it wears out quite quickly and doesn't give you very good grip, but it's comfortable. Of course, a lot of shoes until very recently were made of wood. I was in a shoe factory in Finland that was making wooden-soled shoes still in the 1940s, a little bit later than that. Wood, you see, is really good. Wood is really hard wearing and it's waterproof and it keeps you off the ground and you can build up the heel. Loads of things. Clogs, a lot of people had clogs in the olden days and it was very easy to ramp up the back there, stick a bit of a heel on a clog. And clogs would not let the dampness through and the mud and so forth. And a lot of people wore things called pattens, which were sort of over clogs. You would have your shoe and then you would have a pattern and you would slip the pattern on. You keep it next to the door, walk outside to the loo or wherever it is you're going, and then come back and then just sort of kick them off again. And I can really understand. There weren't a military thing. You wouldn't run into battle wearing pattens. But if you just needed to go to the loo and you didn't want to get wet feet, very good idea.
Lindybeige!